Hello, ladies, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden. In today's video, we are going to be going over the top 10 psych. There's 13 of them. 13 cars that look boring, stock, but are fun AF once you start to modifying. Unassuming, sleeper, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I'll have to think of something to name the title. It's probably just going to be called sleeper cars. But they're cars that look boring, but are fun, okay? And there's 13 of them, and they're cheap AF. As a matter of fact, what is the price? I didn't really give myself a price range on this one, but most of them are under 5K. Like 10 of them are under 5K. The other 3 are under 10K. So, you know, all of them are under 10K. Most under 5K. Without further ado, let's go right into the list with number 13. Also, it's freaking freezing down here. I'm so cold. I think the heat's not working. I don't know why, what's going on. I'm so cold, though. Either way, even if I am freezing my cojones off, 13th place is a Honda Accord, 6th generation. Honestly, spoiler alert, there's another Honda on this list because any Honda could have made this list. Hondas are kind of like the sleeper cars. The 6th gen Accord, however, comes with a 2.3 liter inline 4, making 150 horsepower, and they are front wheel drive. The reason why I put the Accord here, though, instead of something like an Integra or RSX, is because nowadays in the community, people already know that. You know, people know that the Integra has a B series. People know that the RSX has a K series. And so I wanted to put this one here instead because even in the community, it's still kind of a sleeper because it's a Honda. And just because it's a Honda, it automatically pretty much can make pretty decent horsepower with just something so simple as a turbo. I am like all over the place today. I really hope I mentioned what motor that car came with. I feel like I didn't mention it, but either way, 12th place is the BMW 740i E38. I talked about this car like literally once in one of my videos before, and people were like, that's a sick car. It is a sick car, and it's on this video as well because it's pretty unassuming. I feel like most people don't even know what this is. It comes with a 4.4 liter V8, making 282 horsepower in its rear wheel drive. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the same motor that the E39 540i came with. If it is, great motor, super reliable, good on gas. Gotta love it. Now the E38 is obviously a luxury vehicle. I'm pretty sure they only came with an automatic. They're heavy, they have a long wheelbase, so they're not the sportiest cars in the world by any means, but 280 horsepower is still 280 horsepower, you know? And it's not the fastest. It won't be the fastest or anything like that, but it's still unassuming. Like, you would not expect this thing to be as fun as it is. 11th place is one of the cars I used to pick all the time in Need for Speed Most Wanted. It was one of the starter cars, and I picked it every single... Well, actually, no, the Lexus LS400 I picked quite a bit as well. But it's a Chevy Kabal SS. The SS implies that it is sporty, and it is sporty. SS Super Sport, baby. America. But realistically, I feel like most people still don't know that. It comes with a 2.3 liter turbocharged inline 4, making 260 horsepower going to the front wheels. 260 horsepower in the early 2000s in a car that's this lightweight is not bad at all, especially when you consider it has a turbocharger already on the car. You can make some easy power just with a simple tune. You know, boosted cars from factory are just great. Gotta love them. And the Kabal SS is no different. They are a tuner's dream. This one, the reason why I put it pretty low is because it is, like, within the community, people do understand that these cars are pretty fun and they can be modified, but I feel like there's still some people that need to learn that. This place is a car that I feel like nobody really gives the light of day to just because it was front wheel drive, and it sucks. The Pontiac Grand Prix GXP. Spoiler alert, I already got the background footage for this video, so I already know this, but the background footage is not of Grand Prix GXPs. One of them is, but the other one is not, but because there's not enough good videos of this car. Either way, it comes with a 5.3 liter V8, making 303 horsepower going to the front wheels. Yes, the GXP came with a V8. I feel like I don't need to explain how absolutely mind-bogglingly insane that is. Is it an LS? I'm pretty sure it is. You're pushing easily like 450, 500 horsepower with some simple mods to an LS, and it's in a car like this. Nobody understands it. It does have that front wheel drive, and that's the reason why people don't like it. But still, do not sleep on these things, man. They are fast. Place, we're jumping back into the world of BMW real quick. This is definitely one that's known in the community, but I feel like people know it for the wrong reasons. It's the BMW 328i E46. Just did a good, bad, and ugly on the E46, by the way, so if you guys want to go check that out, go help your boy out. But yeah, people know the E46, you know, it's not a hidden car in any means, but I feel like it still needs some love in other aspects. It comes with a 2.8 liter inline 6, making 190 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive or all wheel drive. And obviously people don't know the E46 for its straight line performance, and it really shouldn't be known for that. People buy the E46 328i's and the 330i's for drifting, and that is exactly what what's so fun about these early 2000s BMWs. You can buy one of these things for $3 grand, $4 grand, and immediately just go drifting with it, and it's just going to be an absolute blast. Again, there are people that know about this car in the community, and there's actually quite a bit of them. Like, this is definitely not a sleeper in any means. Like, people don't, it's not like people don't know what the E46 is, but I feel like it still deserves some more love. Eighth position is going to a car that my uncle has 2 of, and you guys are always like, what? I want to see some more of your uncle's cars and my dad's cars. Guys, I would do that, but my like, the men in my family are very skeptical about you guys. Like, they do not trust you. Either way, it's a Chevy Impala SS 7th generation. This is the 90s Impala, and God, I love this car. It comes with a 5.7 liter V8 making 260 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive. They look absolutely incredible, but sadly, the only like modifications that they ever got, like the only love that they ever got, was in like the donk community. Like, people were putting big wheels on these things, and like, I respect that. I mean, it's not my style, but I respect it. But still, I feel like more people should build these things up to be actual monsters, because pretty much any V8 powered Chevy is going to be something good, and this has one, and it looks good. Just like, look at this freaking thing. It's a absolute beauty. 7th place is going to an automobile that I have actually driven. I've actually well, they're already boosted from factory, but a bigger turbo one. It's the Volkswagen GTI Mark IV. These cars are just, you come up to like a New England area, you are going to see a ridiculous amount of these cars being modified. But anywhere else, I feel like no one talks about the Mark IV GTIs. They come with a 1.8 liter turbo inline 4, making 170 horsepower, and they are front wheel drive. Obviously, if you're European and watching this video, relax. Okay, I know that you guys love your Volkswagens over there, but I'm talking about Americans. And again, the GTI in general is definitely not an underrated like sleeper brand. Like, people talk about GTIs all the time, but once they get old, everybody just like kind of forgets about them. I feel like the Mark IV with the 1.8T can be an absolute monster. I'm talking like better than Honda levels at some points. Like, it really is just insane. 6th place is going for another one of those cars that like the E46 we were talking about earlier, where there is definitely a community for them and people know about them, but not enough people within the car community just in general. The Toyota Cressida. These things, I feel like to an average person, to the average car guy, just looks like a sedan. Like, it doesn't really look like anything special, but it comes with a 3 liter inline 6, making 190 horsepower, which may not sound like anything great, but then you realize it goes to the rear wheels. And it's a sedan, and it's a Toyota sedan, so it's reliable as hell, good on gas, parts are cheap, and it's a sedan with a rear wheel drive platform. That's just a good combination for drifters everywhere. So this is the reason why drifters like it. And again, if you're a drift guy, you're probably like, what? This car is very popular. And it is in the drifting community. But like, you show a Toyota Cressida to a muscle car guy, you think they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's probably a pretty valuable car. No, they're not going to, because these things are just so like hidden, so underrated, because they are unassuming. They are just a Toyota sedan. 5th place, I didn't want to separate this one too much from the Mark IV GTI because they're very, very similar. It's the Audi A4 B7. Like I just said, these cars are very similar. I mean, they don't have the same motor because obviously the 1.8T, this car is not a 1.8T, but they are just pretty much exactly the same car. They come with a 2 liter turbo inline 4, making 170 horsepower, and it's front wheel drive or all wheel drive. 170 horsepower was also the number in the Mark IV GTI earlier. The only thing is that this one offers all wheel drive, which is obviously a little bit better, so I put it 2 spots higher. It's also sedan, and I also kind of think it looks a little bit better, but either way, most people I feel like are going to look like, there was a girl in high school that I really liked. If you know, you know. Well, if she's watching this, you know. But she drove one of these, and it was just like, it's just like a regular car. Like, nobody really suspects anything about them. And honestly, when they're stock, they really aren't anything special. But once you start to modify pretty much any turbocharged car from the VAG, it is just going to be insane. 4th place is again another one that's kind of like the E46, kind of like the Cressida, where if you know about them, then you know that they're powerful, but I feel like most people just look at it and don't think that. The Infiniti G37 sedan, specifically the sedan, because the coupe is a sporty looking car, people are going to look at that car and be like, okay, that's probably pretty quick. But the sedan, that's like Grandma May's car, you know, like people are driving down the road with this thing all the time and they don't bat an eye. Car comes with a 3.7 liter V6, making 330 horsepower, going to the rear wheels or all of the 4 wheels. Okay, obviously if you care more about like straight line speed, go with the all-wheel drive, but let's be real here, we all care about fun. Buy the rear wheel drive one, buy the manual one, you're gonna have an absolute blast, dude. This thing's gonna be so much fun. Now 330 horsepower may sound like way too much for this car, and that's because it is. Nissan's always kind of measure their horsepower out the crank, which is a little annoying, but either way, 330 crank horsepower is nothing to laugh at, man. In a sedan, a grandma sedan, like this thing's a sleeper. Third place, and this one's definitely not like a sleeper, but it's just one of those cars that like I feel like most people just second guess. It's the Subaru Forester SF, and what I mean by that is I feel like, again, this car's not fast or anything. Like, you're not going to be breaking land speed records in a Forester, for God's sakes, but it's one of those cars that everybody just glances over in the car community when they absolutely shouldn't. The car comes with a 2.5 liter flat four making 165 horsepower, and it's all-wheel drive. You know the Legacy GT, you know the 2.5 RS Imprezas, the cars that people do like, the Outback, things like that. This is that, but it just is better off-road, and it has more space, and it, in my opinion, it looks pretty freaking good. I don't know if I'd say it looks better than things like the Imprezas, but it does look really good. Like, it is a crossover SUV, and it is what started crossover SUVs technically, and so that is a sad thing because we obviously don't like those as car guys. But this is, if they're gonna do crossover SUVs, this is how they should do them, because they're pretty sick. Second place is one of the biggest, like, who would have guessed it, cars of the past like 5 years, the Lexus LS400. Again, this is one of those cars I feel like people, you can, I guess if you really loved JDM cars, you would have been able to guess that these cars would have gone up in price, but geez, where did they come from, man? I feel like people just started talking about them out of nowhere 2 years ago. The car comes with a 4-liter V8 making 270 horsepower, and it's rear-wheel drive. This one kind of shares the whole BMW 740i thing earlier, where on paper it doesn't sound like anything super special. It's a large land yacht that's heavy, automatic transmission only, but when you start to realize, oh, it has a V8, and that V8's a 1UZ, which is incredibly reliable, good on gas, making 270 horsepower going to the rear wheels, now you start to realize why people like them. These things are fun, and again, if you look at them at first glance as a nobody, or honestly, people even in the community still don't know about these things, so even if you're a car guy and you look at these things, you might be like, it's just a grandpa car, but it is absolutely not. It's a fun vehicle. First place is a bit of a cheat code because most of the community knows that these things can be absolute piss missiles. It's the wonderful Honda Civic 6th generation, or the EK, EM1 generation, whatever you want to call it. It's the 6th gen Civic. Again, there are, within the community, yes, people are starting to modify these things like crazy, especially since the EG Civics are getting way overpriced. But I feel like they still just look like one of those cars that you just like, what, when you see them being fast. They come with a 1.6 liter inline four making 106 horsepower, and they're front wheel drive. There's a ton of different motors for this car though, depending on which trim level you get, and a ton of different horsepower numbers. I just went with this one because it's the base model one. But yeah, like 100 horsepower in a 2000 Civic. Like, there's literally jokes like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna buy a 99 Civic for my kid because of how like unassuming these kinds of cars are. But obviously us as car guys understand that they're insane. They can be insane, at least in terms of like their potential, but out of the gate, dude, you cannot tell me that when you first like got into cars, you were like, you saw a 6th gen Civic and was like, that's a sick car, dude. That thing probably is a rocket ship. Like, no, these cars are so unassuming. It's still to this day. And again, yes, we as car guys understand that 6th gen Civics, 5th gen Civics, honestly any Civic can be something pretty fast. But even then, I feel like it still surprises us. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of the 13 most unassuming cars for less than 10K, I guess. I really got to work on that title. Obviously, you guys will see what I decide to name the video, but I really don't know what I'm going to name it. But yeah, they're pretty much, I don't want people to take this video too seriously because obviously it's kind of all over the place. Like, there's cars that are more unassuming in the sense of like, they're kind of boring on paper, but then once you get in them, they're more fun. Things like the E38 LS400. But then there's also cars like the, you know, Civics that are like, I guess those are actually the ones that would be, this is what I mean, like, it's all over the place. I don't really understand how the LS400 and E38 are actually kind of the opposite of what I just said. On paper, they look like they would be a lot of fun because they have like 100 huge horsepower with the rear wheel drive. Then you see them and you're like, those aren't going to be fun. But then they are fun. And then there's things like the Civic where it's like, on paper, they don't look like they're fun. Like, you know, just 106 horsepower going to the front wheels. I'm not going to buy that. But then you start to modify and you're like, wowzers, these cars are lightweight, man. They take power like a beast. They're fun. And that's kind of what makes them so much fun. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know any cars I missed, because there's obviously a ton of sleeper cars out there that I probably missed. One that I was thinking of is actually the SS Monte Carlos or SS Impalas, whatever they are, of like the previous generation, like the 2010s. Those things, first of all, they look sick. I've always liked how they look, but no one talks about them, and they come with an LS. And the reason why nobody talks about them is because they're front wheel drive, just like the Grand Prix we just talked about. That's another one I was thinking about including. But yeah, let me know what video cars you thought I missed, but let me know what videos you want to see. Thank you guys so much for watching. Das Vidania. I'm freezing my cojones off still, and have a nice night.